Welcome everyone to the Still Atlas podcast. It's gonna be only three of us today until Javi finishes his Counter Strike game. but yeah, with me is Aurelius from DNT, Fallon from SDC, and myself from TPG. But yeah, how you guys been? Good. Just,
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. So yeah, let's
Doing good.
yeah, I'm doing fine as well. So let's jump into. There's been like a lot of stuff going on. Well, not much going on in Atlas with the. We only had this recent balance patch that kind of changed a lot of land PvP stuff like puckles and swivels and all this stuff. But let's jump right into current wars. Like who's fighting who, like, and like the current meta overall. What do you guys think? It's what's happening with the game at the moment.
Is there a war happening? I hadn't heard.
Like there's no more gliding with barrels now that all this stuff, because that was a lot of fun.
So sad. Yeah, the one silver lining of the recent patch is that they took barrel gliding out of the game. Cheers all around, hip hip hooray. A lot of the patch was either I'm not sure about or I really dislike. But yeah, we can talk about current wars. I don't really have much to say. I think Reddit does a good job of misinforming everyone about the wars enough. I don't think you need to add the podcast to that whole miasma of bullshit and lies. But I'm happy to talk about it if we want to.
Yeah, I mean, we on TPG was like we mostly haven't really been doing much of the fighting besides like just griefing here and there. I don't think there's been any really big fights since which one was the last big fight? Was it on N6 or was it on the one on the 11?
I mean, the last big fight was
like the last big like land raid.
10 Galleon, like 2 days ago.
Right, but I mean like land raids, like actually people attacking a base.
So sad that it's a ship game. There's a
Yeah.
big ship fight.
Yeah,
There's
only,
been no
there's
good
only
land
been
fights
ship
since
fights.
the patch.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how that's been right now. So we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the patches. I'm not sure if we want to touch in any particular subject, but we had puckles being buff, swivels being buff for no reason. I don't know why the swivels were buff, but there was also the changes to grenades, bolas, and pretty much I don't think you can get any XP anymore from killing someone with the guillotine, right? So what do you guys think overall of the patch notes? And we can just touch on each individual thing if you want. Felon, Aurelius.
They buffed some of the stuff that everybody was already complaining was too powerful. Correctly so. Where swivels went from overpowered but tolerable to awful and dumb. The nerfing bopping horses is a bizarre change to me. I have no idea who would have even suggested that, let alone coded it. Remove XP gains from guillotine, fine. They were never able to plug all the holes that people were able to find to exploit that, so sure, whatever.
Was that the main reason why they made that change? Because
yes,
people
that
were
was
still
that
be
is
able
the
to get
explicit
XP?
reason. It is the explicit reason that they took that out. Was because we are unable to, adequately control people's use of those mechanics and edging around the intended use of the mechanics to power level themselves. So they turned it off, which I think was probably the right choice.
So they didn't get any actual physical proof of anything, but they assume people were using the guillotine somehow in some way. So rather than trying to locate the actual problem and fix the guillotine, which they've been trying to do for a year now, they decided to just get rid of it altogether, which is the easy fix.
Right. Because no one who was using it would tell them what was happening.
I kind of enjoy I like guillotine somewhat because it was like, especially if you like guillotine someone at really high level, you could like some decent XP out of it. But if they had to remove it because there was quote unquote an exploit, then I mean I guess it makes sense. But hey, people still gonna get a like if people want XP anyway. I think it's just the Elder Cave at the moment and all the stuff. But
That's another excellent feature of the game.
So
there's no need to rehash that. I think all of our thoughts on that are pretty clear.
So what do you guys think overall the grenade change? Because I think the grenade change was probably one of the major changes in there.
I mean, on the one hand, it really took the legs out from under land rating, but the big problem with the grenade change is not the change itself, because I don't think it's a terrible change. I think that you should have more emphasis on tame carts when you're land rating. The big problem is that the whole eastern half of the world can now choose not to get raided if they want by just building up on a pillar. So, to me, the true fix, it probably can't come this season, realistically speaking, but the true fix to the problem that nerfing grenades poses is to, remove all those super tall pillars from the game.
Hey, what's up, Javi?
Hey, Javi.
Sorry, guys, my bad. I don't know what I did, but I look at the timer and I thought that was 1 or 2 hours more. Like,
it's okay. You just jump in as we started. But yeah, we're talking about grenades right now.
Yeah, I think it's a good change, but only if you have a world where there aren't super tall pillars that aren't reachable by tame carts. Obviously, we have that, so I'm not really sure what they were thinking there with that. I mean, I think I know what they were thinking, but I think it was half-baked, given the fact that so much of the world is completely unreachable except by...
I can tell you last season, as PCA member, we dealt with pillar bases basically all season long, fighting DGR and Pink Gaze and all kinds of people that were up in the northeastern area. And when they changed ground PvP, they got rid of pikes being able to dismount tames. So, doing the Torpor pike meta in the beginning of season 2, they removed it, and literally half the PCA quit and went to go play Conqueror's Blade and shit. And I think this is basically a reenactment of the same thing. Once again, they're buffing pillar bases even further by this grenade nerf. And it's just ask yourself, like, you want to go raid a pillar base up in the northeast somewhere. What the fuck are you going to do? It takes 86 grenades to blow up a stone wall, 104 or 107 grenades to blow up a wood wall, and like 24 grenades to blow up a puckle. And it's what the fuck are you supposed to do against a pillar base? It's literally unraidable.
It's like 7 to 10 for a puckle, but your point definitely stands. Like, it's raiding a pillar base is effectively impossible now.
Yeah, I mean I think that change would have been fine if they had like made the change to pillars, because I think that change would be fine if there was no pillar bases. But at the moment, that just made pillars even more powerful. Like, your pillar base is going to be pretty much almost unraidable because the puckles are not going to destroy that easily anymore.
I think given the fact that they can't just remove pillars from the game at this point, the best way to fix that is to re-implement the Z-axis change on the flag and then further extend it to like a few times that height, but having a Z-axis limitation on puckles so that you can build up there, you can honeycomb up there, but you can't place NPC swivels or puckles, so that your base is basically undefended except by players at the top. And then I think that the grenade change would be more or less fine. If you couldn't have your flag up there and you couldn't have like active defensive infrastructure up there, it's not a great change, but I think that would solve a lot of the problems.
But as I said, like, we talk about this in the streaming with some viewers that play the game with my tribe, and the thing is that we don't really know what kind of game they want to finally build. because if they want to focus on the game that they want to ship PvP, that's it. Like focus on the 90% of the game is ships. They're making it good because people can have the unrideable base up in a pillar, so the only thing you can fight is with the ships, because right now is pretty at the situation we are. Ground PvP it was hard, and with this last update, I think is even harder.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely
So
trying to encourage ship combat through these changes, but as Felon and I can both tell
It's in
you,
a negative way, though.
right? Yeah, it's definitely stick, not carrot, which is not ideal. But it can be fine as stick. But like, it really unbalances the east and the west halves of the world through this process. And furthermore, as Felon and I can both tell you, based on our recent fleet battle against one another, ship combat is not something that everybody's going to be rushing to do after watching the lag fest that we just had. Like, it's not a fun thing that just isn't getting done because the ground meta is too strong. Like, ship combat is not fantastic right now either. So
like,
pushing people to do it more is kind of... Sorry, go ahead.
It's like what's Great Shot's thinking in the matter, Land PvP is a lot of lag going on, a lot of problems. I mean, a lot of the time when there's really bad lag, you can't even load a fucking bullet in your carbine. It's so bad. So what are they trying to do? Force people away from land PvP a little bit, put you out on the water in a negative manner by nerfing ground PvP. So we all go out on the water. And we go to a golden age where there's no fucking structures, no tames, nothing's built up, nothing. It's 25 boats out in a fucking golden age trying to fight each other. And you can't. You literally fucking can't.
I saw it. I saw, and
your planks start leaking. You start missing planks or whatever. And I mean, I was grappled in the middle of 8 mythic galleons surrounding me on all sides. I lost a fucking grill. Like, I lost a grill with 8 mythic ships surrounding me, and I lost a grill. Like, that's it. They couldn't shoot me. They couldn't do anything.
No, dude, we just all missed. That's all it was.
Yeah. My boat should be under the water, and the lag was so bad that it was pure cancer trying to fight each other. It's like, how are we supposed to boat PvP? Like, hey, Dolphin, you want to have a 3v3 ship fight in L3 later tonight? Like,
I'll be down.
We gotta schedule it. Like,
I think a lot of fights have to be scheduled now. Like,
yeah, but we play this open world game for the excitement of the unknown. So scheduled flights take 95% out of the enjoyment out of it for me. So it's just the devs turning off ground PvP is not the way to encourage boat PvP. It's just not.
I think ground PvP. I think what they were saying in what I think this is my opinion, but they were saying that the people were getting the smaller groups were getting ready very easily, especially a lot of the smaller groups. Like Pacos were just completely useless for them because we just run through them. But I think that Paco change, especially for me, I think that was maybe a little too much. Or I'm not sure what you guys think about the Pacos specifically, on how now you go about raiding bases, because now we want to grief someone, we have to bring cannon bursts. Like before, we just bring grenades. That would be the end of it.
I don't hate that the stuff is harder to kill. I hate that it affects pillar stuff. I hate that it buffs pillar stuff. But I sort of like that bases and defensive infrastructure is harder to kill with grenades, because frankly, like, a crack team of 10 of my guys could completely flatten a tribe in minutes with grenades, because they it. And I can see why that was really strong. So I sort of like that you have to commit tame carts, but like, when you pull up to a pillar that's 1,000,000 miles tall, tame carts aren't going to do anything for you. So basically, PvP is just turned off up there. I really think that they need to, like, if they want to pursue this change, which I think is net good, because I think grenades were a little too strong and you could be a little too mobile and agile with them. I think you have to turn off puckles on top of pillars or something like that to, encourage people to put stuff lower down to the ground. And the real solution, like I think we've said before, is to just take all these crazy pillars out of the game. You can have strong defenses, but they have to be reachable by tame carts. You got to turn off the swivel. Like, you got to.
I mean, is that an easy fix though? It's like they've made it very clear they're all about.
Yeah.
they're all about the easy fix. They've made that very clear. I mean, just look at fucking gliders and what they did to change that. Like, yeah, I don't know if you've ever pushed shift on a glider since they changed it, but
Hate to see it.
yeah,
Hate to
I'll hold
see
my tongue on what to call it. But
So
all I got to say is they tried to fix barrel bombing, right? They did nothing to barrel bombing other than the fact that you can't glide further distances. TPG's at K4 base, technically, I can barrel bomb their whole fucking base, no problem. Nothing has changed at all. Just the fact that I can't infinitely glide where I want to go. I mean, barrels are still super strong.
Yeah, I think the
just
main
Taking
issue with these
out of the
barrels
game
is
would have
that
been a better change, frankly.
no, I think they should just make it so, like the same changes they made with grenades, just make it so you can equip or carry a explosive barrel while gliding.
Yep, that'd work
That
too.
would have fixed it.
But at that point, how you can use a barrel if you cannot, like, only in the ground?
I'm fine with that. Barrels
Well,
have always been too strong.
Maybe you can glide with the barrel, but the barrel only explode when you place it. So you can go in the ground and you can glide with the barrel, but it doesn't explode like without placing. You have to land and you have to place and detonate.
Meh.
I
mean,
think
I don't
the
know if that's
defense
a
the
bad
defense
idea.
will kill you 100% if you have puckles, swivels, and everything. But the problem is you cannot have right now puckles and swivels because they blow up the barrel. But if you change the barrel, only can blow it up. Only can make damage when you place the barrel and detonate and put a timer. I think that will be a solution.
I mean, my
Because
problem with it.
The
my
problem is
biggest problem. Yeah,
the defense kill the guy with the barrel in the hand and everything explodes.
I actually like the fact that it explodes when you shoot it because I think one example we did this the other day not too long. I was actually watching Felon, who actually when that happened to him, like he was fighting a small
I don't
group.
barrel bomb, dude.
No, you were fighting a small group and like somebody ran to your swivel horse with explosive barrel and he exploded and the splash damage I think either killed the horse or like destroyed the swivel. So I like that you just can run with a barrel that has someone that has a swivel horse in that. And when the swivel horse is the guy that's using the explosive barrel, he would just blow up and blow everyone around him. So I kind of like that, but I'm not sure how you guys like. I still see the uses for explosive barrels, but not when you're gliding. In my opinion,
I'm not gonna lie. I would rather explosive barrel myself IRL than continue to talk about explosive barrels. It's just been 95% of the game for months. Screw it. It's dumb and bad. I hate them. Next time.
I would pay Grape Shot to revert everything they just did and bring barrel bombing back than this fucking swivel cart horse shit that we got going on now. It's like a game of Ring Around the Rosie.
So yeah, the swivels. Like, yeah, let's talk about the swivels. So, what do you guys think about the change to swivels? Which is they buffed
put
it
them back to where they were before, and then nerf them 40% from that point, even further down. Easy. And why on earth would you nerf bopping? Bopping was fine. Why on earth would you nerf that? If anything, it should have been made stronger. Bop.
Gotta trip them in the trees, bro.
I honestly don't understand the swivel change. We've been asking for we were asking for a while for swivels to get nerfed. I've even messaged Chad Dali, hey, can you nerf swivels so we can like, because like
everyone was waiting for a nerf swivel and then they buff it.
Yeah,
they
it makes
it.
no sense. I think that it came from a place of them wanting to further favor defenders in land combat through some misguided thing like that. But it makes no sense. It makes land combat, which is one of the only enjoyable parts of the game right now, unenjoyable. And I don't think they accomplish any reasonable goal by nerfing swivel carts. I think they need to be reverted back and then nerfed by at least 40% from where they were and restore bopping. Like, the land meta wasn't incredible. Swivels needed a bit of a nerf, but now it's just awful. I don't understand it.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you can hop on a swivel horse, let's say you got like a 40-man Zerg rushing your island, and they're just coming in all geared up, grenades coming in to blow your shit. all you need is one swivel horse, and you completely change the entire fight. Like one swivel horse, and it's game over for 40 people. And so the counter to it is, okay, well, we're bringing swivel horses and cannon horses. You know, everybody brings swivels. So then you just got a game of swivel horse versus swivel horse, and
which is dumb and boring and bad.
It's the most ridiculous form of PvP I've ever seen in this game. It is the worst form of PvP I've ever seen.
Like everybody that I play with who wants to do ground combat, they want to do it on foot. They don't want to do it on tames. Making tames even more supreme in ground combat was a dumb bad change. I think we all agree.
I think
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I agree completely. The swivel change needs to the swivel buff needs to be changed dramatically. It just needs to.
They need to flip it to a nerf. They need to restore blackjacks. Next point.
So what do you think they should do? What do you think they should do when it comes to swivels then? Like how should they change it to make it more balanced?
I think they have a place. I think they just need it to be 40% weaker or 50% weaker than what they were before, so that you actually have to land several hits on somebody. So you can't just, like Felon said, roll into 40 dudes and mow them down like it's, a machine gun. It was goofy.
And the reload speed, what do you think about? You have even a skill to reload.
Yeah. So fast.
Like an SMG. An SMG, so what the fuck? The reload time in some weapons are, I don't know. The mortar and swivel has a reload time that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think should be really more time to reload swivel or mortar, like large cannon or even more.
Yeah, I like that actually.
How many people you can actually kill with one swivel shoot? How many people? Like in a ground PvP? 8?
Depends on how closely they're hugging. I mean, you can kill.
I got a clip of going to L3 the other day to fight I don't know, it was a Chinese group, LMW or something like that. We sent Gary in front of the cave to bait them all out. They all chase Gary out and they're running after him like, oh my god, it's Gary, if I can go get him. And Gary runs around the corner of the cave right into our swivel cart. And it one-shots like 11 people with one blast. And just kills them all.
Post that link in chat if you can. I like
really
to see
it.
Yeah, I got a video of it.
Completely balanced.
I'll look
Three
for it while
words.
we do.
Working as intended.
I think they need to make it so swivels at least need to shoot you twice to kill you. They need to make it so the reload time
It needs to be like 4 or 5 times on a swivel cart. Like
no, because then
it soften up infantry. It shouldn't be an I win button against infantry. Like even if you nerfed it so that it took 3 hits to kill people, like it would still be super powerful for softening up a force for your infantry to sweep in behind the horse. But that makes it so that the horse isn't just, an I win button. It's a part of a strategy. It's like a piece of the puzzle instead of just who needs a puzzle? I have a horse. That's all I need. Oh god, this gif. No, it's
second. I just modded you. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think swivels do have a place, but when it comes to like ground PvP, I just don't like that it just one shot you. Like I would much rather see like long reload time, have to like take maybe 2-3 shots to kill someone, and make it so like every time you put a swivel or a cannon on an animal, it slows down the movement speed of that animal. So that way you're just not running around like one-shotting everything. Like if you want to keep the horse's speed the way it is, just make it so like you cannot put a swivel. If you put a swivel on that horse, it just slows down the speed of the horse by like 60%, 70%.
I don't think you should be able to put front mounted swivels. Like I think they should hurt your own tame. Because the rear mounted swivels are not that big of a deal. We don't, people. But
if they make it so like the speed of that animal is reduced by a lot, then that creates some like you see someone coming in with a swivel horse, maybe that creates some kind of ground control, and you move away from that swivel horse. Yeah. But I don't think removing it completely would be a good idea.
I think that will make the fire like buff because. The fire right now is
front swivels don't really counter fire swivels right now, so I don't know if that would make a huge difference. I think it would be a positive change. I don't know if it solves the problem, but yeah, I think removing front swivels would be. All of these are different levers that they could pull on. They need to pull on some levers really badly, though, because I think we all agree that front swivels are bad and dumb right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree
But-
completely.
Whatever, we can.
Yeah,
So-
because
so-
I think grape shot is the only ammo that doesn't hurt you, because you can put a front cannon and you can hurt yourself. You can throw fire and you can hit yourself. Ballista also. The one that is like mini mortar. How is bar shot, right?
Yes.
Bar shot. You can hit yourself.
Spike shot, yeah.
A spike shot. All the ammo. Only swivel. Swivel doesn't hurt yourself. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but
grape shot friendly firing.
Yeah.
Green stuff would also. That would be another fix they could do. That's fine.
Yeah, just think about it. I mean, if they made it so that grape shot would hurt your tame, you know, I think it would be you could even keep it as strong as it is, and that would still counter it almost completely, because people would be very
Mastering your own
selective with their
tame.
shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd work. That'd work.
Yeah, and also like that would make boarding a lot easier if like the damage was nerfed too. I mean, I would rather see the damage get nerfed in the reload time, because boarding is really not a
keep
thing.
naval combat separate. But yeah, I agree.
Right.
There's a problem with swivels on boats too. Yeah.
So there's another change that I actually did not like, that they reverted the weather and temperature conditions no longer drain hunger or thirst when we're feeling stamina. I think they reverted that. I think they put that in the game. There was a problem with it where like people were not losing.
They reverted it because they implemented it incorrectly. I don't have strong feelings on that. I don't think it really matters.
That is mostly the problem that I think most casual players have to deal with, where like you're always hungry all the time, especially when you go to cold regions. You're just hungry all the time, and it's like really frustrating. They need to really quick. I think they just need to change the variable on that, so we're like it takes, you know, less to be hungry or just thirsty all the time when you on a different region where the weather is really high or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't think it's a big problem. It's never something that I've come across.
No,
Anybody?
it's not. I don't think it's a problem for us because we're always carrying food and
Well,
stuff
right,
like that. But I see it
doesn't
from like
affect
the
megas, but like
right. It doesn't affect me. I
Bob's-
think it's from the perspective like those casual players that like always. It's those little things. When you talk about like the balance in this game, it's always the little things that add up and frustrate people. It's like when people say, "Fix your game." I think a lot of people don't understand what that means. It's like always the little. It's like one thing on top of another, top of another that frustrate people, and it's just not just one thing that frustrates everyone. It's just all these little things that Grapetrade is making that start frustrating people, and that's where people quit or just say fix your game, in my opinion. So it's like
but
one
like little things like that. Like I would rather them make the lag 3% better than spend
Sure.
a single
I
second
agree on that.
thinking
I agree on
about
that too.
food values in the context of weather. Like I truly don't understand their development mentality when they fiddle around the edges with these tiny little systems, when there are huge core pillars of the game that have been neglected for months that are actually driving down population. They're like, if we can just fix this one little trinket, this one little bell, or this one little whistle, like maybe they'll love us again. And like all
Isn't
of
it
us,
Isn't like some of the grades
Bobs,
done right now
saying, like,
as well? Like I think I
fix
saw some.
lag, fix front swivels. It's the big stuff.
So anyway, jumping into naval combat, what do you guys think about the state of naval combat with these changes overall?
Everything's perfect. Don't change a thing.
Well, I
No.
think, in my opinion, the brig and schooner PvP is fun, but the galleys PvP is like it always win. If in 1v1, I think wins the one with the highest planks, health, and damage. But because you have no like, you cannot handle and like with brigs and schooner, I think the PvP is so much fun. But I think galleons is like one galleon in front each other, like sideways, like they sides, and shoot, and they lose plank. They have more repairs in another, and they won.
Do you think a lot of the changes with a lot of the lag we see is because
But
people bring in too many galleons to a grid? Do you think that could do some? It could be something like that, because I don't remember last season where people will bring that many galleons to a fight, because like a galleon is it's a lot of stuff that need to be rendered.
Personally, I think that lag is mostly reflected in this game by your tames, including NPCs.
Right,
So
but
if
it
you
lags
take-
on L3 when people brought those many galleons,
And you
right?
got to remember though,
because all the
Dolphin,
boats and their NPCs.
yeah, all the boats and their NPCs, and you also have to remember, guys, that every grid is actually 3 grids to 1 physical server. So even if you're in
Yeah.
D12, all of our crap in D11 is weighing on that. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to naval combat. So you guys think there's an issue specifically where just galleons are just too strong right now, or
Does anybody have fun with the Galleon meta? Does anybody here like it? Javi, you spend a lot of time on the water like I do. Do you think it's fun? No.
Well,
Yeah.
for me, with bricks is so much fun.
Yeah.
With galleys is okay, but we have until today it's sunk grappling galley to board ships, and that was really fun. But right now it's pretty impossible with the swivels. But I think, yeah, as I said, the galleys is like we fight a lot of times with the galleys, and I saw a lot of fight. It's like side by side and shooting, and the one with more damage and deals more damage, you know, is gonna win. When you see the numbers
Yep.
and you see more damage in another galley, you know who is gonna win.
You get out of there. Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, like, if you get 2 high quality mythic galleons and they're, you know, a pretty even playing field, neither of you are ever gonna sink each other. Like, you're just gonna waste your ammo. You're gonna run out of ammo before you ever sink anybody. The only way you're gonna actually sink each other is if you bring a grapple ship in there and somebody gets grappled. Like, it's never gonna actually sink. You just spawn people in buckets, go sail to a free port. In my opinion, there is absolutely no point to build a brig in this game right now in ship fighting. They're the most
No.
Not as
useless
a
ship.
mega. Not as a mega.
I actually agree with Phil
Phil
on that one.
No point.
What? Yeah, Jabby, what do you think about? Because Jabby knows more about. How come you like bricks more?
Yeah,
Bricks
I
are more
really
fun.
like
Yeah.
bricks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You can handle a brick fight alone. Like
what if someone brings a
only
galleon?
with 1 man, and with handling sails, the turning, and you can 360 on your own, and but with the galleys it's like a truck, and it should be lower. Like, I think it runs so fast. Like, when you see a galleon, you know, it's gonna run so much. So I don't know. The galley is what you can do is one ship you can build 25 cannon each side, so has a lot of power. Can fight against a brig. You have a brig, you can fight against a galleon, and you have no choice to do anything. With a brig, you can lose planks, you can go, you can run, you can turn, but if you get in the range of a galleon, in 8 seconds, you lose everything.
Anybody that watched me play knows that I love brigs. It's my favorite boat in the game, and I love brigs. And, you know, after the devs scuttled my brig, Eugene literally just sat me down basically and said, like, dude, you're not building brigs anymore. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's complete utter waste of time. I could put myself on a galleon, just me on a galleon is far more useful for a company than me on a brig. It's complete waste of time. And I think that the balance here would be if somehow we could get them to implement galleons more of a cargo ship, less firepower or something, you know, just if they were more about hauling and cargo and the brigs were more of the combat ship in this game, I think ship PvP would be way more fun. Like, way more fun.
Or make the galley slower.
Yeah,
like,
something.
Like,
Yeah.
if you have to be bad, or you have to be unlucky to get in the range of the slowest ship. But if you get in range, man, it's 25 cannons each side. You're gonna lose the deck if in a break on a schooner. And also you can have grapple galley that can grapple everything. So
Yeah.
right now,
Uh,
galleys are meta right now. What you can do against with a tribe that or alliance is coming with 15 galleys, you can only bring 20 galleys. You cannot bring. Yeah, you can bring 15 galleys and
It's
5 bricks. What the 5?
Yeah, it's 100% a numbers game. Like when you get a large amount of ships, like we did the other day, we had 11
Mhm.
galleons going to fight Death and Taxes
Mhm.
against their 16, which we counted in the video, but they have multiple companies together. But when you get that number, it's basically like, okay, well, whoever's got the most ships is got the advantage. You know, you're gonna win.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
of
skill
course.
involved. There's
Mhm.
no, complete like, oh my god, dude, he just made a really good move. He
Yeah,
just
and
fucked us right there. You know, that doesn't exist
it's
in the current ship meta.
it's
I think
grapple.
your
Just
point. I think your point is not wrong. There's not a ton of skill. It's really mostly about whoever's calling the fleet battle, like putting yourselves in the right position to open the battle, is basically 90% of all the skill involved in the whole fight. And once you're actually engaged, it basically becomes a slugfest of who has the most and
Yeah.
who had the best starting position. It's not. I like in one sense that galleons are huge expensive assets and you have to bring out galleons to fight galleons and that like you can have a huge epic battle, but like there's just my biggest problem is that there's not a reason for us to do that. The only reason that both of us pulled out all those galleons was ego and fighting, like fight for a fight's sake. Like there wasn't a huge victory or payoff waiting for us on the
Yeah.
other side of that fight.
The 100% honesty, the reason we went down there was he literally came in the chat. He's like, I'm bored of shit. I want to sink Alice today. Where are we going? And somebody's like, fuck it, let's go to D11. And that's God's honest truth, the conversation that he came in. He's like, I'm done with this shit. I want to sink Alice. Where are we going? And that's where we went, dude.
Right. And
It
like
just boredom, nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did
Respectful
something
thing
like
to do.
that where like we got Parallel to come out, which is I streamed it and was like, watching news like we're just see if they can come sink us, and they brought more chips. It was a numbers game once again, and
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
props to you for putting all your chips on the table like that. Like, that fundamentally is what drives content.
We were
and
going to
sales.
harbor run you in D11, and you moved your ships to the free port to like group up with the rest of your guys to come fight us on the water. And then we were like, all right, sweet, they're gonna come fight us in the water. We legit were sailing towards D11 to harbor run every one of our good mythic ships, and we were just gonna go in. Like that's how like bored we are of not getting the content.
Right, and we got what I guess you could call a good ship fight out of it in the current state of Atlas. It was pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
To your exact point, the reason behind that wasn't you didn't have a strategic objective. You weren't going to capture good loot. You weren't going to advance your position strategically. You were just bored and inting your fleet.
So
Like that's just bad game design.
So when it comes to naval combat, what do you guys think they should change to the boats to make it more, especially like the Galleon right now, since the Galleon is like the meta at the moment? What do you guys think they should do?
Here's my list. I think you should lower the flag steal time by 80 to 90% to encourage people to board, take over, and capture ships instead of just sinking everything that comes into sight.
Of course, steal ship right now is pretty impossible.
It's
Takes, like,
impossible. I think that you should remove the damage and resist stats for swivels on decks so that you can actually get on board. At least remove the damage stat from deck swivels and nerf them, just like I talked about for the tames, so that boarding becomes the meta, so that if Felon comes in and has a smart brig crew, they can board and cripple a galleon via boarding, so that you at least have some counter that isn't just, oh, they have a galleon, bring more galleon. Like make boarding great again. The ability to mow down land structures with ship cannons is really goofy to me. Like, it makes no sense that you can delete things instantly and nothing can scratch your boat from land. I think that's a goofy part of the game. That's sort of a side issue, but like it just makes no sense to me. I think that the damage and resist stats per level should be halved, so that you're getting 2% damage and 4% resist per level, because that closes the power gap. Because I think a big problem with ship combat right now is that so few companies are willing to do what SDC did and send their whole fleet out and like actually put their chips on the table because the ships are so difficult to replace. I think if you reduce the power gap and cheapen the ability to replace ships, you'd actually get more and smaller scale, lower stakes combat. Because like
I
right now,
agree,
yeah,
100%.
I think
agree
that
completely.
a big change to affect that is to have all ship blueprints drop in 10% intervals based on their tier. So like common is 100 to 110, fine is 110 to 120, mythical is 150 to 160, and the cap is 160. Everything actually falls within those bands, so you're not just throwing away crap blueprint after crap blueprint. I think that
And increase the RNG so that you can get them more frequently when we're farming ships out there.
yeah, to phrase that in a way that the devs would like, you need to have a fatter tail, a fatter right tail on the distribution of blueprints, so you're getting more stuff that's like 159, 160, and less stuff that's like 151, 152 in that mythical distribution. You need to add blueprint drops for ships to both Yetis and both Krakens because everybody is tired of solely farming ghost ships for blueprints. Like it would be so easy to add that stuff to the loot table, and now I have a reason to go and fight Felon over the Kraken, and he has a reason to show up
Yeah,
and get the
what
Kraken.
what's the reason that the game doesn't, say, okay, you kill a Kraken once a week, you get a, like a raid boss in WoW. Like why can't we kill a Kraken once a month or once a week or something and get a hefty amount of loot from it? Like what's stopping them from allowing us
Exactly.
to do that?
It's so easy to do.
They
I
just
feel
need
like
to
it's
code
got to
it.
be so easy to do. Another big thing to me is there needs to be sea towers because the fight we had yesterday or the day before yesterday, whatever it was, fell. We could actually do that pretty regularly, and we could lower the stakes by doing it regularly. If there were like in Power Stone Tiles or something, there's like a tower that's sort of like a mini boss that you can capture by going and shooting at it in a specified time window, and like you're encouraged to show up with fleet and fight any other fleet to capture the tower when it goes live. Like it's just a totem that you blow down basically at a specified time and fight anybody else who's there, fight over it, so that we actually have a reason to pull out ships regularly, as opposed to just you guys being bored and actually deciding to make something happen for once. Like give us an actual reason to do this in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So more specifically on the boats, what do you guys think it should do so breaks a little more viable and there's not so many galleons in general? Like I said, the majority of the time you see mostly galleons, and you're lucky if you see a break these days.
There's a couple of things I could think of. Like one, you nerf the weight or crew that you can have on a galleon, but it kind of defeats the purpose of having a galleon if you do that. Another way I could see possibly working would be limit the amount of galleons you're allowed to have in a company, but then we would all just make alt companies and make more galleons than alt companies. So
exactly. Yep. So that wouldn't work. I like the first one's worth exploring. I think that's a good idea, or could be a good idea.
yeah, it's tough to balance the ships in this game, which is the reason why we've all been asking for, a frigate for 6-8 months straight now. We've been asking for something between a brig and a galleon. The answer is a frigate. And they have said multiple times that they're nowhere close to implementing a new ship in this game. It's just not something that we should count on. And
yep, a frigate that's a galleon killer would be a fantastic addition to the game.
I think for now,
that would solve so many problems.
I agree with that. I think for now they should just make it so galleons maybe should be slightly slower, so a break can actually run from them. Maybe even.
I think the solution is to make brigs faster, but
that too. I think
one
of the problem I have with the breaks is that you can't really put them in crew. You actually have to put points into crew to be able to do more stuff with a break. If they just increase the default crew size on a break and increase the weight a bit, I could add some other stuff on top of it to make it more viable against galleons. Or ideally, I agree with the second thing the film says. Like if there was a limit on how many galleons you can have, like ideally I would love for it to be like if you make a galleon that maybe counts as 3 boats or 4 boats on your ship limit. so that way you don't have that many of one type. But
Yeah,
people are
but
just gonna
like
make all
Valorant
companies.
said, then it just
Yeah,
becomes
people are just
a
gonna make
game
all
of all
companies.
Yeah. I think that if you buffed brig speed by 10%, you could actually see them become much more viable against galleons because they could actually dance around in front and bar shot galleons a little better. Um, and I'm hesitant to make huge changes on the water because I feel like it's close. I don't think it's close to balanced right now, but like I feel like a huge change could really throw things off. I don't totally hate the water right now. I think it's a little stale, but I don't think it's in like dire shape like land PvP is, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, buffing Briggs 10% to speed, it would help a little bit, but at the end of the day, yeah, I went to go fight TPG and Pyrolau had a naval fight last week, and we were bored, so we literally just sailed down there to go see what's going on. We wound up fighting Pyrolau. I sailed my boat into 8 mythic, probably mostly mythic, but the point is, I sailed my boat into 8 Pirate Law Brigs, and I just laughed. I opened my gun ports and pushed V. It was like, all right, good luck, guys.
Yeah,
What are
exactly.
you
Like
gonna
they
do?
don't really do anything at the moment with the brakes. They just sink very quickly because they don't really have the HP. The planks don't have the HP.
What?
And the speed is not
Why?
good.
Why is like I understand the large plank versus medium brig. Like a galleon is basically double the size of a brig, but does the planks have to be 12,000? I mean, can they be 8,000 or 10,000 instead? Could we just make the planks on a galleon weaker and make them a little closer to a brig? Therefore, it'd be a little easier to kill.
Yeah, why not make a galleon 10,000 and a brig 8,000? Narrow the
Yeah.
gap.
I mean, that would make brigs way more effective right there in a very simple form.
Yep. Yeah, I think that would be a great change. I think that introduces more variety. Like, if you did that and increased brig speed 10%, I think we'd see a whole new naval meta unfold with 2 minor changes.
Yeah, because schooners are great. Like schooners have a
yeah.
very good purpose right now, and if you build them properly and you keep them light, it's a great boat. But the brig just can't fight a galleon. Like I mean, you could. Like, I built that Fellov brig, a couple months ago or a month ago or whatever, and I sunk plenty of mythic galleons with it. But the point was, you have to be like a fucking genius to sink a mythic galleon, or fight
You have to
away from
outplay
a
them severely. Yeah.
you fight away from a free port, because if they have any chance at getting to a free port, you're just not getting the job done.
And you can do no mistakes, because if you do a mistakes and you
Your
get
deck's gone.
in the range
Yeah.
of all the side of the cannons, you are completely done. So
You gotta
if
hit
they
the same part of the galleon over and over, keep hitting the same planks
Mhm.
over and over, because 22,000 health, like,
Yeah.
it's just not easy.
Mhm.
While we're talking about it, I do want to say a couple things that I think have been good that I don't want to see them revert. Because now with the swivel thing, I'm afraid they're going to start reverting stuff. I like the no intelligence sets. I think that was a fantastic change. I do not put insets back in the game. Don't do it. I see you. I see you. I see you with a hand on that button. Don't you do it, devs. And I also think that. Oh, shoot, what was the other thing?
No, because the intelligence armor only buff the big tribes. The tribes that can, because the problem with the intelligence armor, everyone can have the VP, okay? Everyone can craft. But
not everybody can put
everyone,
10 million gold. Exactly.
Of course, 10 million gold in the armor. Not everyone has the chance. Only the big companies. So
it was just a mechanism to increase a power gap in a game where the power gap is already too large between megas and bobs. Like that, it was a great change. I only bring that up to say it was a great change, and don't you dare put insets back in the game because they were bad for the.
Do you guys think there is ever a chance? I see a lot of people saying this, that they want smaller tribes to have more feasible time attacking larger companies. They want smaller tribes buffed. And in my opinion, that is not a possibility in an official server. Arc has been going for, 7 years or whatever. Smaller tribes have never had a chance against larger tribes in Arc, even if they're really good 8-man, 10-man tribe or whatever, and you go up against a Zerg and Arc, you're going to get steamrolled. There's nothing you can do about it. So I kind of am just tired of people saying, like, we need
It's always
smaller
going to be a
tribes.
numbers game. So
Yeah,
Here-
it's never gonna happen. That's not the way that this game will ever work.
Here is my suggestion for buffing small tribes. What you do is you take all the pillars out of the east half of the world so that everybody who wants to own an island has to actually, have some stuff that's reachable by cannon tames, blah, blah. And then you leave some of the super tall pillars in lawless tiles. And if you want to be a scrappy little small tribe, like you can't be X-Bobs, like if you want to be a hardcore small tribe, you can live on top of a pillar in lawless with the crazy hard to kill puckles and the great damage on top of a pillar, and like you can be a thorn in a mega side viably, even without huge numbers. If you can live on top of a lawless pillar, like that to me is like the only appropriate type of thing that you could do to quote unquote buff small tribes. Because I think you're right. Like you can't give them a damage buff. You can't do any of that crap on official. Like it's never gonna work.
I agree. Look quickly on naval combat. Do you guys? I haven't seen anyone ever use spike shots. Do you think they should do something with the spike shots to make them useful?
Yeah, so I said this a little while ago after one of our last podcasts, but spike shot is it actually does have a purpose, but I think that spike shot should be more of a resemblance to mortar shot. When you land a spike shot, I think it should detonate immediately on a ship. I don't think there should be a timer, and I think it should do increased damage to sails and crew, and not so that it's broken, and that if they go too far with it, it'd be completely overkill. But I think it should do something more like a mortar to a boat that you can launch out of a cannon with much less damage than a mortar. And I don't think the timer thing is just a waste of time. Like it's just silly.
I would love to see some variety like that. I would worry that it would be too strong against a grappled boat. Like if you could just devastate it with spike shot or something. But like, I'm fully in support of them trying something, as long as they're ready to adjust it if it turns out to be too powerful or whatever. Because we need more variety on them.
Yeah, it's a very fine line. It has to be balanced properly. I also want to see him bring fucking torpedoes back. Like we got a week to play around with torpedoes on ships, and it was actually really fun. And they got scared that it was way too strong, which it was too strong.
I think what they could do with torpedoes is that, because if you somehow make it so torpedoes are back, Galleon torpedoes are gonna be pretty good, right? Because you put I think they could just
don't let them put it on galleons. Put it on.
Yeah, so I think they should. Yeah, I think they should make it so you can put it on brakes and like reduce the weight of the torpedo on brakes. So brakes are much torpedoes are maybe a viable thing, or like on the schooners. If people don't do barge schooners, make it so like reduce the weight so torpedo schooner could be a thing. I don't know.
Do you guys remember how scared to death we were when torpedoes first came and you're cruising around in your mythic galleons? How scared to death were you from a torpedo schooner? Like one torpedo schooner could wreck your mythic galleon, and it was a bit broken. It was a bit
blow
too
the
much.
whole side off of the boat, and you're like, well, that was a fun game.
You bring that out again, you make that viable again, where you can do that again, and your galleon becomes less viable. More ships are implemented, and I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, I think if they make it so it's more viable on brakes, then you see more brakes with torpedoes and stuff like that, and but not on galleons. Like just like make it so you
do not put torpedoes back in the game and allow them to put them on galleons. Yeah, that would be
just not on galleons. I think like buffing galleons, like they just need to make changes so it doesn't buff certain things, certain specific chips like galleons. Like
right. I don't know that they need to nerf galleons. I think they just need to make some changes so that other things have a role in the meta again and introduce some stuff that could help to counter galleons a little bit. Buffing brig speed, changing some of their stats around, and making torpedoes great again, and making them so that you can only put them on schooners and brigs all seem like good changes.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I would like them to mess around with spike shot a little bit because it's never been very. I mean, it was a little bit useful in season 1, but nothing really. I'd like to be able to play around with it.
And you think, guys, torpedoes are not good right now?
They're okay, but they're
It's
too heavy,
situational
and
right now.
there's
Well,
a
yeah.
really high speed meta in NA, and if your boat is slow, you're dead. Basically, it's a little different than EU, and the whole weight thing. People just they're not willing to gamble with it.
I think the fundamental problem with torpedo now is that they're too niche, so they don't have a role in enough different situations, so that nobody really bothers running them. If you took away the ability to put them on galleons, buffed them a little bit, and made it sort of like a little knife up your sleeve to fight a galleon as a brig, like all of a sudden maybe you start seeing them a lot more.
Yeah, I can agree with
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
So, well, we already covered most of the stuff that I had listed. So what do you guys think more into, like, more kind of like melee weapons in, like, changes to ground combat? Do you think they should do? Because I would like to see more things like a stagger. Can a stagger when you're blocking, or like drain more stamina when you're swinging? Maybe like halberds or the type of like fighting styles based on the weapon. Do you guys think like? Cause you guys think they should do
I mean,
something
let's
like
be
that?
honest. The only thing that's actually really broken right now is the shield. And
Yeah.
if you
Yep.
implement something like where you can only shield bash once every
Well,
6 or 8 seconds or something,
Yeah.
I think it would
s-
be a good
Stunts
balance.
in general, because the stunt with the lag is like 6, 7
Crazy.
stunt. Whatever stunt is
Like,
like you're a stunt
yeah.
for the next hit and never stop. If you get a high ping, it's laggy the server, and you get stunned once, you're dead.
It's like
They
make the shield bash a skill. You know, you pop a skill, you get a shield bash,
I
and
like that. Yep.
let's say
Mhm.
it's a 10-second cooldown, and if you have intellect, you can maybe get it down to 6 seconds or
Mhm.
something, or you know, if you get your buffs and all that.
Yeah, make it
needs
like
to be
15 seconds base, and then hard kraken gets it down to like 10 or whatever.
right.
And
It needs
then
to
I
be
think
so you
Yeah.
can't spam shield bash, because I run into that too, like where you
Yeah.
just
I
endlessly
think Felon
shield bash.
fixed that entirely with that suggestion. I think that's a perfect suggestion. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't want to see them. Oh, go
I run around with nearly 600 stamina, and I completely fucking abuse shield bash because it's so broken. Like, why wouldn't you just bash the shit out of everybody? As long as you got teammates there to clean up the DPS, like it's the easiest way to win an outnumbered
Mhm.
fight. And you can
Yep.
even shield bash somebody and push spacebar and do a 360 in the air and bash everybody in a 360-degree radius all around you if you spin quick enough. Like,
Sick game.
it's completely broken.
That's broken.
I disagree with you, Dolphin. I don't want to see much change to land combat other than what Felon just said. The biggest problem with land combat is not the actual like weapons that player have. It's that puckles are so strong and swivels are so strong.
Right, but if you take away
ground ships
puckles,
are so
because sometimes
crappy right now.
no, but sometimes when you have PvP, a lot of times there's not gonna be puckles around, because when puckles is around, you're not gonna fight around puckles because you're gonna get shot. But when there's around PvP, I feel like there's possibility for other choices. Like nobody really uses a crossbow as much, or I haven't really seen anyone with a crossbow because they don't really do that much, right? I don't see anyone with throwing knives because throwing knives they don't have blueprint. They're not blueprinted, right? So you only do a set amount of damage with throwing knives. Like I would be willing to use throwing knives if they had like maybe they were blueprinted, or like there was like more damage to it and things like that.
Throwing knives are actually a lot
Do-
better than I
yeah.
think most of us give them credit for. And
They do 90
BBs would
damage
actually make
to
them
a
really
naked.
Yeah, like they're not terrible, and they work underwater, which to me is a huge thing that I feel like we overlook when we kid ourselves out. So yeah, like I think that that's more unexplored than it needs a buff. The only other thing I'll say about shields is that they shouldn't block bolas. Come on, that's silly.
So, but what do you think of like? Because a lot of time when I have a grand fight, it's like there's a lot of spamming, left click spamming. There's no really, you don't really do that much
Yeah.
dashing unlike certain instances. Like especially with the pike.
Well,
With the pike, you just keep spamming left click or keep spamming the power attack, right? There's no penalty for spamming, your attack.
Well,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's the point of having parrying in the game when nobody parries? Like, it's
Exactly,
literally
exactly.
useless.
I think that it would
The-
be
the-
good if they made it so that you could parry across weapon types, so that a sword could actually parry a pike and vice versa.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that would make. I think that would introduce a lot
Yeah,
more
I think
interesting stuff to.
I think it'd be a lot more interesting if a melee combat, when you have melee combat, it's a little more skill based and not too spammy, because there's like so many things you can do when you have
It's pretty
dodging and,
skill-based,
parrying, right? Yeah, but like there needs to be a penalty for like spamming. If I'm fighting someone that just spams left click with a pike, and they don't really drain down that much stamina,
Yeah,
like,
you know, if you
be more careful
lunge
with your
power
attacks.
attack a pike, you stun them, right? So
Yes.
you land that stun. Okay, now you just lunge again and lunge again and lunge again, and you just keep lunging until somebody else comes in to help that guy, or you know he's gonna die because he keeps getting stunned by spam. So I see your point on that, but it's the same thing. It's like, you know, Aurelius. Let's say we do a 1v1 and you bullet me. I'm just gonna push spacebar and be like, all right, come get me. Like, I dare you. I will literally just bash you with my fucking shield and laugh as you're stunned after you bullet me. Like, shield is the number one thing that needs to be fixed, and then number
Agreed.
two, some of that pike stun stuff, sword stun, heavy swing stun shit.
Give
I
me
think that's
a
a little
counter
much.
to break a stun lock from a pike with a sword
Yeah.
block. And the other big thing that I would say with the sword is, you know, the forward scroll, so not the down scroll that gives you the overhead swing, but the forward scroll that gives you the little pop.
Yeah, the poke.
What? Not the poke. The mouse button click, the one where you hit with the
It
butt.
hits you with the butt of the sword.
Yeah,
that's
the
mouse
pommel
three
hit.
click.
That why doesn't that block the downward swing? That's supposed to be the counter to an overhead swing, to like break that when someone's doing that on you, and it doesn't work. Why doesn't that work? Because the overhead swing's the most powerful stun lock that you have, the most powerful DPS stun lock in the game. Why can't
Yeah.
my little pommel hit, like, that should interrupt that downward swing? That alone would add a lot more variety to sword combat. And if you open up parrying across types, that really gets ground combat more interesting again, especially if we do what you said about shields and introduce a 15-second cooldown ability to smash or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. If you should be rewarded for doing the correct attack while somebody's trying to hit you. If you know, even if somebody comes in with like a pike lunge or something, and you do the little pike sword, the pike butt thing, clicking in mouse 3, and it flips the pike around and hits them with the butt of it real quick, you should be able to interrupt their power attack. There's no reason you shouldn't.
Encourage a skillful counterplay instead of just somebody running and savior me and hope they run out of stamina while they're stun locked.
Yeah.
That will be very good, because right now you can only counter like a weapon. You can only block the attack with the same weapon, and with the pike, I think you cannot block the stunned attack. So yeah, it will be so good that you can block any attack with any weapon, maybe with the cost of stamina or durability of the weapon. I don't know, but yeah, should be good, because you look a guy with a pike and you have a sword, and yeah, he has the chance to win.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely.
Um,
So jumping into
That would be very nice.
yeah, the lack of communication lately with Grape Shot. What do you guys think was going on? Like, they really haven't said much besides the, hey, here's this buff rate.
Isn't it obvious? Genesis is coming, dude.
Exactly.
Because it's like Argus stuff going on, and they just neglected
now
us.
they're all called back to work on Genesis. That's 100% what's happening. And honestly, I would rather them just tell us that to our face, so that we know that, like, maybe they'll circle back and release patches again one day. Because the lack of communication is really weekly patches, by the way. Weekly patches.
Yeah, haven't seen the Captain's Log yet. Supposed to be getting one this month, right? Because we haven't had one this month yet, and it's
Don't
only
hold your breath, bud.
yeah. I mean, they haven't said anything. Dolphin hasn't really said much besides stuff privately, but they just need to communicate more to the community.
I think we should kind of remember that. Have any of you ever researched Grape Shot games? Have you ever even Googled it? Anything?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's not pretty.
I play 10 hours, 10k hours Arc. I know.
It's like Ark is getting all love. I understand Ark makes them more money. I understand it's like the biggest IP right now, but we didn't even get a Christmas
Studio
event.
Wildcard.
We didn't even get a Christmas event. SDC did a better Christmas event than Grape Shot did.
Yeah. Bro, our Christmas tree was fucking lit. You can't lie.
It was lit. It was a lot better than what like Grape Shot did, to be honest.
But the point is, though, Grape Shot is a sub branch of Studio Wildcard that doesn't. It's a what do you call it? Like a throwaway company.
It's a
like
spinoff.
It's a spinoff. If Grape Shot fails, Studio Wildcard doesn't take the blame, and they don't have to take the shit for it. It's like, oh, it wasn't us, it was Grape Shot. Grape Shot doesn't actually exist. It's Studio Wildcard, and it's just a cop out. It's a way for them to write it off if the game fails.
Yeah.
I just want to see a little more communication. At least tease something or say something besides, hey, here's these rates. Not even happy holidays or happy New Year's. Nothing. I'm like, okay. Like, that's not rude.
I think
like their anniversary was like on the 22nd. They didn't even say anything around their anniversary.
As I said before, we can meet a lot of times. We can talk about that. They can have our ideas or opinion, but I think they have something in mind to make the game, and they will do it. Like in Arc, they nerf the flyers, they put tech, and they lose a lot of players. A lot of bad commentaries about that, but
I don't necessarily agree with that in that particular, but that's a whole different topic for like a whole different game. I think some of those changes did bring some of the community back, but when it comes to Atlas, I think it's that lack of content and lack of interaction that we're having right now, especially with like the stuff to do at sea and things like that.
Wait.
Go ahead.
The devs need to play their fucking game, dude. If they played their game, they would know that buffing swivel damage 100% is the most ridiculous change I've ever seen in this game since I started playing it in day one. If they actually played the game, then they would know it is completely ridiculous.
Or if they at least ran by some of these ideas by some of the mega leaders, like we could have anybody in my Discord would have told them, you want to what to swivels? No, I think you mean nerf. Obviously,
you worded that wrong, right? Like,
I think the issue is that
50%, right?
I think that will change nothing. Like everyone could complain about the swivels are not good, and I think they will change pretty nothing because they have that idea and they want to make their game as they want.
No, I don't necessarily get. I think it's just that they just take forever to do a patch. They're like, hey, we're having this issue with swivels, and when are you gonna plan to fix it? Next year? Like, are you working on Arc and stuff that you can't just make that little change? Like, things like that. My problem
is that I'm gonna get accused of being an elitist here, and I am unabashedly an elitist in some ways. The problem is if they put out a Twitter poll for swivel cart tames, a bunch of Xbox players are gonna be like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds fun. Like, they need to come and talk to people who are actually playing the game at the bleeding edge of the meta. They need to come and talk to me. They need to go and talk to Tim. They need to talk to Eugen. They need to talk to Lol. Yeah. They need to talk to Felon. They need to talk to people who have they need to talk to Avni and Clock and Bri, talk to people who actually have an inkling of how the game is actually played at the top tier before they make these changes.
I think without being too toxic on that, I think they're just watching too many Dark Side RP to balance.
Oh my god. It's ridiculous though. Like, if you're going to build a game for an official PvP server, you have to talk to the people who are playing on the bleeding edge of the meta, not putting out polls on Twitter. You're not getting good feedback from like general population surveys. You got to talk to people who are playing at the front.
I guess you could kind of see that, like, okay, they're trying to maybe nerf the player skill of melee a little bit and buff the easier form of land PvP, which is hop on a tame, what anybody can do and fucking click a mouse button. And you could say, like, maybe they're trying to make it a little easier for lower level players like the Xbox players and shit like that. At the same time, it doesn't matter what you change in this game, the Mega will always do it better than you. So sure, go ahead, get on your swivels as Xbox players and try to shoot us. We're just going to bring 3,
We're gonna
4
bring
more
30
swivels
swivel
than you
horses.
have. Yeah, there is
exactly.
no balance to it, and they
The
have to
balance
stop
there is
trying.
like the static defenses was a good change for that though, because it actually made it a little harder for you and I to chew through a Bob's Island. Not impossible, we can still do it, but it's a
Yeah.
little harder. But like the swivel change, no nonsense, because you and I, we have if I have 50 people on mine, instead of having 2 horses and 30 people on foot, I'm just gonna have 25 swivel horses pull up on an island. It's gonna be stupid and nobody's gonna have fun.
Exactly. There is no proper way to help smaller groups other than maybe give them a faster form of farming XP or easier ways to get blueprints to get some of the better stuff. And other than making the game a little easier for them to level up and stuff, game balances is
Yeah.
never going to make a change because it'll just
Yep.
make it stronger for the megas.
Lowering the skill gap, like the
I think
VP
the
thing
problem
where I
with
talked
the
about the 10% ranges, that does way more for Bobs than, like buffing swivels or any nonsense like that. Like lowering the skill ceiling just means that all the mega players are at the top of the skill.
Right, so I think we touched a little bit on like what could help the Xbox players, but I still think that Xbox players or like casual players as small groups have a hard time like really getting all the resources they need, all the stuff they need, because a lot of the travelers is super slow. Like it takes forever to cross 8 grades, 6 grades to farm what you need. Like when it comes to like farming blueprints stuff like that, I would like to see, because this Arc has this like in there are other games by their parent companies like Snell Games, like if you get like if you farm like a ghost ship, you should have a small percentage chance to actually give you a blueprinted item. It could be like a blueprinted carbine, it could be a blueprinted plank, or like 2 blueprinted planks. So that way, those casual or those smaller groups are not on primitive stuff all the time. At least they have something. Sure, that like the megas would farm that and get more of it, but that means we're out there farming those stuff instead of like just farming resources, which is farming stuff at sea.
Meh. If Bob wants a decent boat, go live in C9. There's 3 types of thatch. There's 2 types of wood. Like,
we're also overlooking something big here. It's like Xbox players. We obviously know there's quite a few of them, but the point is, like, you don't have to play official server to have fun. Like maybe you should play on a private server, or get something else going and whatnot, or an unofficial server. Because if you're an Xbox player and you bought this game to play on the official servers, I think you should get your money back, because you physically can't play the game functionally. Like, you come to N6, D11, D5, try to load in one of a bigger company's base, you literally can't play the game. It won't let you. You'll just crash over and over. So the point of trying to bend the game to make things better for Xbox players in the official server is just a waste of time, in my opinion. I don't think it's something that should be focused at all.
Well, I think that more jumps into them having to fix performance. So it's, there's like too many teams. The team cap right now.
Here's my performance suggestion.
I mean, we touched a little bit on that, but like, yes, the need to solve performance issues. Like, there's a lot of grids that are like team cap, server team cap, where like you can't breed, you can't tame any more stuff because
yes, we have 3 of those, and we're taking a 4th grid to solve it. It's ridiculous. So,
and that has to do a lot because we can't really convert our stuff into items, like our teams into items, like people have been saying before, ship in a bottle or like a barn and stuff like that, which are heavily needed. Like, we need that right now because people are just going to keep taking risks to breed. Yeah.
If you own the flag on an island, when you place a puckle, it should start a 12-hour timer. And then at the end of the 12-hour timer, the puckle is magically manned, and it still consumes gold, and it still consumes berries, but there's no NPC. Wow. Huge chunk of server resources just saved instantaneously, and you can't fob up instantly because you have to own the flag to have an NPC-less puckle. They're magic. I don't care about immersion. I want my servers to work. Like, huge savings to server tame limit instantaneously.
So when you throw grenades at the puckle, typically you kill the NPC before the puckle. Would the NPC still die, or do you just gotta?
That's
yeah.
not
So
true.
you just gotta blow up the puckle.
Yeah, you've always had to blow up the puckle before the NPC on it takes damage, even from explosives. On a swivel, you can kill the NPC with the grenade or with melee damage. On a puckle, the NPC cannot take any form of damage until the puckle is fully destroyed.
Well, yeah, the puckles die first, but
Correct. But you don't do any damage
swivels,
to the
like,
NPC. Yeah, on the swivels are different,
when
but
you get
swivels are
in,
much less
yeah,
widely
when you
used.
get into bases like blueprint rooms and stuff, you got to kill that NPC on the swivels.
Yeah, I think that if you did that for puckles, that would be like 80-20 rule, because most of my NPCs, I'm sure you guys are the same, most of my NPCs on land are on probably 80% at least. That would be a huge resource saver.
I don't know how much you guys have put into it. It sounds like Aurelius says, but we have found that tames are the cause of lag in this game.
100%.
Like the biggest source
100%.
of lag
100%.
is tames. If anything they could do to limit that could actually fix the game in a
But
big way.
They already
NPCs
have it in Arc. Copy and
NPCs
paste
are-
the cryopad. Sorry, go ahead.
the NPCs are pretty the same than tames. Because you can put 200 NPCs on the Galleon and
Yeah.
3 frames. And
Yeah, NPCs unmounted are the same as tames for causing lag. Here's have a big, fat, huge barn and copy and paste cryopods and make it so that it takes like 10 minutes to pull tames out and put tames into the barn and have them despawn, de-render. They live in the purgatory of the barn. Make the barn big, make it high HP, make it an appealing target, do whatever you want to do to balance it out. But if you did that, like Felon, if you and I could keep our monkeys in a barn at the main base so that I didn't have 50 monkeys in my ready room just annihilating the server for zero reason, the game gets way better overnight. Like there's just no reason to not have that. And I think the same thing for ships. Make a huge shipyard make a huge harbor that's kind of like a shipyard where it's got to sit on the water and on the land. Make it big, make it have 1,000,000 HP, do whatever you want to do. Like make it a good target, and make it so that you can put ships inside of it in cold storage that take 10 or 15 minutes to pull out of the harbor, so that it's not like a fast swap thing or whatever. Like balance it however you want to, but like if you do that, if I can put the NPCs in a box and the boats in a box so that I only have to render in one harbor building instead of 1,000 pieces on every ship, like of all the ships that we're not using, like that would improve server performance so much. A harbor building, a barn, and making it so that if you own the flag, you don't actually have to put NPCs on the puckle. So those 3 things I feel like would cut down on 60-70% of what's causing huge server lag right now.
Yeah,
good work.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree completely on that. So we touched on most of the topics that I had on here. We have like on open table. Is there anything in particular that we haven't touched yet, or that you think we should be?
Cap levels at 100. I know that you enjoy 600 stamina, Felon, but my god, if I'm a Bob, you're just a god that is unkillable.
600 stamina?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there has to be incentive to want to get to level 150 in this game. Otherwise, what's the fucking point to grind to 150? So there's always going to be like something that you're going to be better at or have better at being 150. But there should be a hard cap to all of the major stats, in my opinion. 300 health is fine. I mean, that works. It's easy.
Yeah, I think that 300 health has been a great change too. Yeah, that's the other thing with intel sets. Don't revert 300 health. It's a great change. Let it be.
Yeah.
Put 300 stamina and maybe like 700 weight, and then Felon at level 150 can have all the food his heart desires. Food and water.
I think the grind to 150 is kind of silly. It should be nerfed for 1. And for 2, I think if they want people leveling up that high and, spending that much time, obviously there has to be some sort of benefit to being a really high level. But it could solely be based more on being able to have more intellect so that you get higher crafts. It doesn't have to be a PvP advantage. It could just be an intellect advantage. Which is a very small PvP advantage on your cooldowns, and it's not that big of a deal.
Maybe you can cap.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go
Maybe you
ahead.
can cap the level to 100, like leveling stats, but the less 50 levels only skill points to do pretty everything. But you cannot
I like that idea.
have a player like, I don't know, more
Yeah, you
than
don't get more
100.
stat points. You just get
Mhm.
skill points for 100 to 150, so that you have a better quality of life. But your character isn't getting.
Yeah,
You
it's the
can't
same
swing
than the.
infinitely. That's a great
Mhm.
idea, Johnny.
Yeah, I kind of like that as well. Do you think they should cap stamina in that case? If
Well, the stamina is.
I think they should make it
Mm.
percentage based. If I bash you with a shield at 300 stamina, and it takes 10% per bash, and I bash you with my shield and I have 500 stamina, it still takes 10% stamina. I think that would be an easy fix.
Mhm. Like it doesn't matter how many stamina you has, you only can do like 10 times everything. Doesn't matter whatever.
The point of having the high stamina mostly was focused on raiding pillar bases, and you put a bunch of weight and stamina so you can carry a bunch of grenades really high up on a
Mhm.
pillar base,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to worry about it, and then you go up there and you blow up the base. That's kind of out of the game right now, so it's not that big of a deal. Like, I already respect, and I have much less carry weight now and much more stamina for shield bashing instead, but I,
But right now with a fight against one guy with a double of stamina, mm, if he
yeah,
won't, he will not die. He will run. He can spam abilities like the medkit. He can still running, and I don't know. Right now the stamina is the the way of belief in the PvP, because if you run out of stamina, mm, you're done. You cannot dash. You can,
yeah,
if you
that's true.
attack, you will get the torpor. So
I think they should make it so like certain weapons can stagger you or slow you. Like for example, if you throw a throwing knife or you shoot someone with a bow, maybe bows could be battled once again, or like a crossbow. Like whoever's running away from you will just stagger or slow down for like a second as soon as you get hit by a ranged weapon. That way you can actually slow people down if they're running away from you. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Like I want to see more diversity, not just like one weapon or one type of weapon
I,
just be the default.
so
well,
I
you
think
can
what you're
grapple
trying to
people.
say, like, if you throw a throwing knife at me and you hit me, it's like a snare. I have a movement penalty now because I'm injured by your throwing knife, and it
Yeah,
snares you. Like, I mean,
yeah, for like a second, like just like one, like half of a second, where like you just can't run forever, and there's like the
yeah.
choice for me to catch up to you. You know what I'm saying? Well, I want to see stuff like that, yeah, where there's more choices. Because right now, no one really is. Who uses a bow here? No one really uses the bow. Flame arrows. I don't think anyone really uses flame arrows anymore. There's no incentive to use some of
Make
those weapons
compound
every
bows
game.
great again.
Say what?
Make
The only
compound
thing
bows
I
great again.
use, the only thing I use flame arrows is just throw oil jars at tames and silently kill them, so for a more quiet raid rather than blowing up grenades.
Right now is for you can break the grapple from a galley with the fire arrows. Right now is
Mm.
just for that, and I don't know. Yeah,
That's too
the
niche,
oil
though.
jar right
Yeah.
now is, I don't know. Yeah, for kill tames, because for ships are pretty useless.
Yep.
I agree
I
with
don't
The
that.
know.
one other thing that I would. Oh, sorry.
I
Go.
think we have a lot of stuff in the game, but I think everything should be balanced and work a little bit better. I
Right.
think we
Because a lot
don't
of the
need
content,
pretty nothing.
some of it's just worthless. Yeah. So if you actually did a little balancing worth, we'd actually see a lot more variety.
Mm-hmm. Bloom booster, make something with that.
Well,
So what?
Maybe I did it wrong. The shotgun.
blunderbuss. Yeah.
I forgot that they existed.
How
I
do
mean,
you
they're not
forget?
terrible. They're just
Blunderbuss.
situational.
It's
I
the
don't
most
feel like.
No, I think it's just useless. Like no, I would love to see it so like maybe that's more damage to tames, or maybe just the spread. It's just not. It just doesn't do anything really.
It might be okay if boat boarding became more of a thing. I don't see anybody using it over a carbine or a pike.
Because that gun is not made well. I bowl a guy and he was like not jumping, doing nothing, just bola looking at me like I'm gonna die, and I shoot everything like half of him red, and nothing happened. And when it happened, it's like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So it's like 12 damage. So
Personally,
nothing is going well with that gun.
I never want to see blunderbusses in PvP again after the nightmares this season 2 and Black Butterfly and whatnot. I still have nightmares about it. I never want to see blunderbuss in PvP again, dude.
I mean, that's part of the reason that I really like the carbine changes that they made at the start of the season, is because even if somebody's aimbotting, it doesn't end the fight. It's just like, okay, it's an annoyance,
Yeah,
but you
good
can
job.
actually play.
You hit me a headshot with your carbine while I'm full grog buff. Like, good job, you tickled me. Congrats. Let me heal real quick.
Do you think they should because I seen this happen a lot. Do you think consumable buffs should stack on top of each other, or it's just like should it just be like where you can only eat one grog and you can't put another buff on top of it?
I think now it's good.
I think that they need to redesign the entire damage mitigation system, because the whole system right now is a bunch of little like band-aids that got patched in and built up in various ways to address specific meta like OP things. I think that they need to completely like take a step back from a starting point of a 300 hard cap on health. Say we're going to reorient how armor, alcohol, and other food buffs work together and how they come together to form a player who's PvP ready. Like, I think that the system is overcomplicated because it exists as a series right now of like little patches and fixes that addressed various things along the way. Like, what when I explained to a Bob, like, you need to drink 3 ale, then a dark draught, but you can't have pudding because that like overwrites the other buff. And you only really want the dark draught if you're going into melee. Otherwise, you don't want to waste it. You want to use your 4th ale to get 4 times drunk, and you got to be 4 times drunk, and you got to want to keep it alive, but you can't heal while you're 4 times drunk.
Alcohol stacking is stupid. Like, it shouldn't be a thing. It's
like,
too strong.
I think it should be so like
to get to that full damage reduction.
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly.
Why can't it just be 1 alcohol to get to the full effect of 4 times drunk? Like, why is it so complicated? It's.
I personally think you should be able to stack different buffs, or like just 1 grog, it gives you the full buff, and you shouldn't be able to drink another stew on top of that to like.
Well, I'm fine with some of the mixing, like the Terranasi treat. I think should be able to pair with stuff like it does now. Like, I don't hate that some of the buffs are mutually exclusive. I just like the alcohol thing. Seems needlessly complicated to me.
I necessarily don't agree with that. I think it should be, in my opinion, it should be just like 1 buff or 2 buffs, like a damage buff and a defensive buff. In that set, you should be able to stack others on top of that, because then especially if you run with like a blueprint and armor, that just makes you even more powerful against someone that doesn't, unless he just spams a pike and that's it.
But right now, without buff, with 160 sword, I think critical strike and the 360 slide, you can one-hit everyone.
Yep.
300 health, 350 health. I think it deals like 400 health. Just 150 or 60 sword. Critical strike, circle, and 300, I don't know, HP. Yeah, I don't know how they should work in that, but I don't know the alcohol, the damage reduction, the critical strike damage, but
I see a lot of people getting worried about the sword and mace changes, but I think the sword change is good, and I don't think that everybody's worried about they're bringing torpor back with the mace, like it can one-shot people now, blah blah blah. It doesn't. It's fine. It's really not a big deal. It's easy to dodge. You can see it coming. You can easily interrupt it if somebody's trying to do it. Like, it's really not. I
never understood the whole the torpor thing with mace. Like, if you see someone activate the buff with the mace, the
It's
first thing I do is just run
situational.
away. Yeah, it's very situational. Like,
I used it yesterday when we were having a hard time clearing out the cave, and people were in there farming the cave, and it was probably 40 of CSTG guys in there, and we were having a hard time getting them fully out. So I went in there naked with a mace, popped my torpor, and just slammed it, and knock them all out. Then we go in, throw a grapple at them, pull them out of the cave while they're knocked out. So it's got situational benefits, but it's not broken in PvP. You're not going to pop it out open world PvP and stuff, and you might catch somebody off guard every now and then, but it's not like it's broken or anything. It's really not a big deal. It's perfectly fine. The mace should have useful abilities in this game, and it's kind of the worst melee weapon in the game, even with the torpor that it can have now. So it's really not a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Like,
but-
go ahead.
Imagine that they catch you. What is about to get people caged 24/7 and don't let them play in the game?
I mean, all you have to do is submit a ticket that you've been captured, and 24 hours later, the devs will literally type a kill command and kill you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think I don't see that many people really spending that much time trying to keep you caged. To be honest, it's not like an ARC where you can keep someone caged.
It's
forever.
a waste of time.
Yeah. Especially with, you have to make sure he has the right vitamin. You can't really see what kind of vitamins he's missing and stuff like that. So you end up dying in less time that you may think. So
I mean,
don't
you,
think...
you can see it. You knock them out with the mace, and you open their inventory. You can see their stats and everything. But I had Fart on You captured from Death and Taxes. I kept him captured for like 10 hours, and I got completely over it. I'm just wasting my time playing this game. So I just kept trying to trick him to log in so that I could just cut his head off, and I finally got it. But it's a waste of time. Like I said,
and now you don't get anything.
Screenshot.
You don't get XP buff from just decapitating.
No,
so.
yeah, it's a complete waste of time now, even more. But if you do capture somebody, if you do get captured, for anybody watching, all you have to do is take a screenshot when you get captured, and if you're not released within a time frame that you think is good, or if you're still captured after 24 hours or whatever, all you have to do is send a picture in, and they will literally type a kill command and kill you.
Didn't know it because we made 2 enemy guys buy another account to play. So,
What? How long did you have him caged?
can't remember, but I think more than 48 hours. So
Well, that's a lot of commitment, bro.
so they had to buy another account. So yeah, that honestly that sucks, man.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You are
think-
not able to play with that account. How?
So I think that's one of those things that they fixed in ARC, but I don't think they implemented on Atlas, where like you don't have a poop option. Like only your teams have a poop option, but they will have a poop option where you would poop and it would the poop would go into inventory and then you just eat that and die. But they don't have that in this game where you can actually, your character poops. So it's like you can, if you get caged and someone actually wants to keep you caged, yeah, I can see that situation where like.
But let's make this. When you are caged, okay, if you are in base time in an island, as you cannot do damage, you cannot receive torpor.
Yeah.
That
I don't know.
because the problem
I don't
is
know
on
about
pace time. On pace time, you get the cage in pace time. Nobody can rescue you because they are still giving you torpor and feeding you and everything. But if in pace time they cannot deal torpor, you will wake up, you cannot fall asleep, and you will suicide by stamina.
Okay, I can see that being useful. Yeah.
Meh.
It actually happened to me. TPG, I ran naked barrel bombing in K4, and I went to barrel bomb something, and I jumped inside of their building on accident. I was literally trapped, and all they had to do was just come up, knock me out, and I would have been captured. They brought a horse in and left the door open. I just ran under the horse and ran out and fucking started running around. And they completely
were
missed
lucky.
me. Yeah, but they did capture me before this, and they had me captured. They had me in a guillotine. And I call up Mr. Dolphin, like, Mr. Dolphin, come on, we got him. And Mr. Dolphin logs in, comes over to cut my head off. And I died from stamina because my grog buff ran out. And when your grog buff runs out, you can't regenerate stamina. So I literally died in the guillotine while they were waiting for me to log in so they could get my XP because the grog buff basically killed me because I couldn't regenerate.
When you are asleep, you have all the unconscious, all the torpor. If the buff, the buff comes in, you instantly die.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I need to run in a second.
Yeah, so I gotta run too. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, it's been I think it was a good podcast. We touched pretty much on everything, most of stuff that we want to talk about. Do you guys have any last statements before we close?
One last statement. Combine NA and EU servers next wipe. Make the world 17 by 17 so that it's 289 tiles instead of 225. Make the east half of the world EU servers and the west half NA so that you can self-sort. Like combat timers mean that there's no reason not to keep them separate anymore.
There is a game that does that, but I don't think we can talk about that right now.
I mean,
yeah,
that's,
like combining
that's a minor thing.
Combining the NA and EU would be interesting, you know.
Well, you'd have to do it with a fresh wipe, but I think that they should next wipe. And the other thing is they've got to reduce the number of islands per group. It's completely goofy to have 8 large islands in a grid. Like, why would you do that? It makes no sense. The servers cannot keep up with all the islands they've shoved into the grids. Fella and Leg, you guys took that D11 island from a Bob early on, and it's almost impossible to remove somebody from an island if they actually dig in properly, like you guys have. So it's like, next season I'm looking like, okay, so I need to control 6 islands. I need to lock down 6 islands not to have an enemy in my grid with a peace timer. Why? Why is that the game design? Is this a ground territory control game or is it a naval combat game? It's dumb.
True. Felon, Gabby, any final thoughts?
Okay.
Yeah, I say I want Grape Shop to pull their head out of their ass, and when they get a change added to the game that they think would be positive, to stick to it and don't listen to other people cry about it and revert it, aka changing the flag height. I think that would have been one of the best changes we could have seen in this game.
Yeah.
And they reverted it because people cried about it, and they'll sit here and tell you, no, that's not why, blah, blah. But it is why. And hopefully when the season wipes and they have a new season, they put it in, they stick to it, and they don't care if anybody cries about it. Just stick to what you think is right. Also want to go back earlier this podcast. Aurelius said he was an elitist. I think that's complete horseshit. The dude's a complete fucking beta, so don't listen to him when he says that.
Javi, any concept?
Nothing. Thank you guys for inviting me.
My only closing thought would be prayers to Dolly and her family. I know that there's something about wildfires in Australia affecting some of her family, so I hope I think she was housing some of them last I heard. I hope everything's turning out all right with that. I think that's some of the reason that Dolly at least has been a little quieter than usual. She's usually more responsive than the other devs.
Okay.
All right, till next time, guys. Cheers.
So, for me, just want to see Swivels get nerfed. And
No. Get ready
I want
for
Swivels to get nerfed. I want to be able to board some boats, steal some boats.
All right,
I gotta know.
Anyway.
50% incoming. Let's go, boys.
Yeah,
Get
let's go.
ready.
Alright.
Trust me, guys. Get ready for the swivel reload faster.
Machine gun swivel. I had a lot of experience with that.
By 500% and change name to Car 98K.
But yeah, anyway, it's been fun.
Till next.
I'll see you guys in the next podcast.
Okay.
We'll try to get some more
thanks.
guests. We'll try to get more people on the podcast. But anyway, have a great night, guys, and I'll see you guys.
Yeah,
I'll see you guys next time.
in the rest.
See you later, guys. Bye bye.